the Quran and is also seen as the basis of the religious life, which is very openly emphasized in many verses in the Quran. In Tasawwuf history, the difference between Ashq and Muhabbet is examined by Ahmed el-Ghazali, and then Senai, Feriduddin Attar, Iraqi, Rumi, and Jami. So such great masters also followed the same path. Muhammad Ghazali in Ihya Ulumuddin, he actually systematically observed the conception of Muhabbet. According to Ibn Arabi, all the existence, be it material or spiritual, they are the manifestations of Allah. Whatever exists is the reflection of Allah's Jamil attribute, and it's a manifestation of its Jamil name, beauty. And the real beloved should be only God the truth, Haq. And Muhabbet should be spiritual and divine. And the lowest level of love, including human, is actually, the lowest level is actually egoistic love. And spiritual love is between natural love and divine love. So the purpose is to be able to combine the first and the third type of love. And in divine kind of love, there are two. One is towards the essence or from the essence. So it is, I wish to be known, is coming from the essence to the created. The other one is the haq that manifests in creatures and from the creatures towards God, towards the essence of Allah. So the desired is actually Allah. Because Ibn Arabi always repeats the verse, he loves them and they love him, as stated in the Quran. In Futuhat, Arabi says there are stations of Muhabbet and Heva, Hub, Ashq and Vud are 4 different categories and levels. And in each of them there are states which the previous ones don't include. So Heva means desire. This is more worldly, the lowest level. When the lover actually eliminates all the other loves but has only Allah's love, this is Hub. Ashq is the 3rd level, and the 4th level is not changing the level or the strength of your love in difficult times, in normal times, and this is Ved. Maturity in general terms means essence, and it actually shows to be competent. But absolute perfection is in essence, in attribute, and the one who is really perfect belongs to the haq, and the essence in maturity is manifest in God and for the sake of God. And the essence should actually be observed in the outside, in the exterior. So, vücut, ontologically, the science, and epistemologically as well. So, when taken from the human point of view, the human's connection from the universe, which is the ontological maturity, and bearing the reality of the Prophet is the külli kemalat, which is whole perfection, and putting these into action is the perfection in deeds, fiili kemalat. So there is a specific reason for the creation, and according to Ibn Arabi, it is God's, Allah's wanting, wishing to be known. I was a hidden treasure, I wish to be known, is the hadith that reflects this truth. The hidden treasure is actually, there is only one presence, nothing else, and that's Allah. So when you are wishing, when you are have the longing for being, for existing, it is actually the moving point, the starting point is Mahabba. And this is an action of love, this is an action of ashq, this is an action of hub. So the science of wisdom refers us to the creator, to the created. It actually starts from duality but ends in oneness. So we should have the unity as an outcome. So multiplicity or duality acts like a bridge for us to attain oneness. So having this muhabbet is a must. Without it we can't act. In order for Allah to be known, we needed the existence of humans, and the reality of humans could be recognized only through Allah. So such kind of an ontological relationship is also manifest in this hadith. The one who knows his nefs knows his Lord. So he is the knower and the known. So there is a mutual relationship. So the essence, the secret of worship is also love. Without love, without respect, you cannot worship. Were there no love, then you wouldn't actually worship. The essence of Allah is actually seen by Allah in His essence. So His essence, He wanted His essence to be seen in the attributes of His existence. So this is the essence and the truth of the Prophet Muhammad in reality, which is the source of all existence. Therefore, there is a special love between Allah and the Muhammad in reality, and this is the real source of the love descended on this earth, and all the other existence are like the openings, the unveilings of the truth, of the secret of Muhammad in reality. So in this universe, the human is given the tasarruf, the disposal onto the created beings. Everything in the universe calls for Allah, but in human life, in humans, we have the call for Allah in terms of sainthood and servanthood. Alaq means love as well. So that means people, human beings, are also created out of love. So in Ibn Arabi says, if you want to see yourself, Haqq is your mirror. God, the truth, is your mirror. And you are also the mirror of Haqq. So you have the mirror, you are like the pupil of the universe. So whoever you love is actually God the truth. Whatever you see, whatever is seen is God the truth. So everything is actually directly related to Allah. Everything belongs to Allah. Allah is exterior, interior, and so you are actually, because of the spirit and the heart, you are batin, and because of your physically being, you are zahir. So there is actually an ismus, a barzakh between these two. All the levels, whatever those levels, those stations demand, actually is love. And all the created in this world is actually trained by Allah's most beloved. So you want to be with Allah and you want to act for the sake of Allah. And when you act, you know that the only doer, the only existence is Allah. So that's how a perfected human being actually is realized. And there you actually perform your servanthood as well. So a servant can actually approach me with farce, and then the nafiles. But when my servant comes very close to me, then I become the eye that he sees. I become the hand that he throws. So in such a state, whatever you see, whatever you say is what Allah wants you to see and to say, and what Allah makes you see and say. Ibn Arabi, for Muhabbet, Ibn Arabi puts Muhabbet into center of his life, saying that it is my religion, Muhammad is my faith, and he somehow restructured the concept of Muhabbet in his works. Whatever kind, the divine source it has. All the spiritual and material beings are actually the manifestation of Allah, are the reflections of Allah's Cemil attribute and Vedut attribute. Cemil is the first beauty, Vedut is the first lover. So the source of existence is a hidden treasure in one's essence. Knowing yourself is actually Gnostic, and creating the... So he actually makes the relationship between science and Muhabbet as well. So the Muhammadan reality is actually the purpose of existence, and he actually was able to make that truth manifest. So Ibn Arabi was actually one of the most blessing saints that was able to reveal that secret of the Prophet Muhammad, who had special love, a very strong love with Allah, which is the source of the love descended onto this earth. So whatever love you have, you actually are bound to go back to Allah. So the one who loves, the one loved, the one who wants to get united, the one that unites is only one.
Bezmi Alem Valide
That just reminded me of Bezmi Alem Valide Sultan's couplet. From the Muhabbet came Muhammed. What would come out of a Muhabbet that lacks Muhammad? Now we will have our second speaker for Mevlevi recitations applied in tradition and its comparison with the Sema ritual carried out today. I would like to greet everyone with respect. Sema means to hear, and it is hearing the warid that the Sufi hears and delivering it to his heart and whirling and to recite God's name. And when we say Sema, the first name that comes to our minds is undoubtedly Hazreti Mevlana. But when we look at the history of Sema, there can be three main topics. Before Sema existed, before Hazreti Mevlana as well. The second one would be Hazreti Mevlana's Sema, and the third one would be the Mevlevi's Sema, which are practiced after Hazreti Mevlana. Actually, I want to add another topic to that and talk about post-Republican Semas as well, because it entails a very long history. It has gone through major transformations and evolutions. Before Hazreti Mevlana, Junayd Baghdadi says there are three incidents that rahmet is bestowed upon the servant, and one of them is during Sema, and he says that this is a state of wajd and ecstasy, and this is open to discussion as for being approved or not approved. Since the etymological roots go back to hearing, they talked about it. Imam Ghazali also talked about Sema and said that it was approved and jaiz. But Ebu Said Ebul Hayr, who lived 2 centuries before Mevlana, did the Sema as follows. He stamped his feet and he revolved around himself, or he waved his hands, or he clapped his hands. This is the Sema that Ebu Said Ebul Hayr did. When we look at Hazreti Mevlana's Seva, the most favored resources are Menakibul Arif, and even those are unfortunately unable to tell us how the Semas were them. We don't know what the face, the hands, or the body did. And Hazreti Mevlana's Sema, it can be separated into 2 types, as individual and communal. And the attire has also been changed. Also, some poems are recited, and we know that there are there is a Sema that he did in front of Selahaddin Zerkubi Konevi's store with the inspiration of the hammer hitting the steel. And the people around Hazreti Mevlana would look upon him, and seeing him ecstatic, they joined to his Sema. When we look at the Semas of that time, there were no naats, or there were no entrances by the nay, or a conclusive part. The Mevlevi Taksim now comprises of 4 parts. After Hazreti Mevlana, with Selahaddin Çelebi and Sultan Veled, it is pretty much the same, but we don't know how exactly it was. After Hazreti Mevlana, when we talk about the Sema of the Mevlevis, since they expanded to a very large circle, there are certain peers who decide to make some judgments, and they make it easy to learn and teach. Ayin and Erkan have been finalized in that time. Also, the Asitane's 18th postmission has called for a decision, and that was the determinant of the final version. But also there had been some amendments and modifications, so they had been the adapts of those people during the course of history. Abdülhalim Çelebi in Galata Mevlevihane in Istanbul, he did a ceremony, an ayin, and one of the dervishes says, this was in Persian, reads one of the rubais of Hazreti Mevlana. And when we look at this sort of practices, these fine details, as we would call it, this can be one of the things. Also, Abdülbaki Gölpınarlı and Hüseyin Top has clearly explained in detail how a Mevlevi ceremony is done. Maybe some details have been missed or skipped because after the Republic, since 1925 till 50s, there had been a pause, and it's only normal that some details have been omitted. And Riza Duru has a book that explains in detail, and he uses the books of the journals of the travelers and tells us what the ceremonies were like back then. And Galata Mevlevi Hane was a pinnacle, a very interesting spot for visiting, so everybody wrote a note about that place in their travel journals. We tried to obtain some information about that as well, and one of them is waking up the scent, the incense. Before the ceremony, they use an incense to make that place fit for ceremony, but nowadays, since it is practiced in cultural centers or in big performance halls, it's not being done in Mevlevi Hanes all the time. Also, there are the posts that are being used. Today, the Semazens use a white post, and the post nishin chooses a reddish post. But we can see some other colored posts from the journals of the travelers. This is very interesting. In Konya, for example, even though they use a sheep or goat's post, in Konya they use a tiger post, and they used the deer sometimes. In Trablussham, they use the blue painted post, and in Galata Mevlevi Hane, there's a black one. So these pelts, these posts, if there is a aşçıbaşı, a cook, head cook, they can also join the ceremony. Maybe it was connected with the spiritual level states of those people. Today there's no such thing, and it's only the pelt, the post that the post nishin sits. The tenure, the clothes the dervishes wear, can also be different colors. Usually it is white, and it is a symbol of the death cloth, the shroud, because it has a very wide tariqa that has gone to a very large scale of geography. But we also think the colors might be relevant with the spiritual state. They are adding felt underneath the pelts, the posts, so that it will be more suitable, and some tell that they fill it up with sand or even iron or stone. The differences in the pelts, the tenures, and the tradition of the incense burning, and a full-fledged mukabele. This is, as you know, mukabele means confronting each other, and the headmaster looks in between the eyebrows of the whirling dervishes, and this is actually a representation of a greeting. This greeting is very, very important in Mevlevi mukabele with Devri Veledi. The Semazens greet each other, and there was a verse, an ayat. What they hear is just the greeting from the Vaka verse, and it says that they only hear the greeting, the salam. And Sema and the greeting actually is a very good expression of Sema. One other thing is reading the Mesnevi. When we look at the Mevlevi Mukabele, the prayer is done, the Mesnevi talks are done, and Şeyh Efendi starts the zikir, and then they say the Surah Ikhlas, and there are many details, and then they say the prayer of the post, and then they start Sema. Today, unfortunately, this tradition is kept in only in a very limited scope. There are also places and people who really give all their attention to the proper execution of the ceremony. Today the prayers are said by the head prayer sayer, and this was the last of the comparison. And as you know, since centuries in the land of the Anatolia, the Mevlevis has enriched the land, and the followers of Mevlana has enlightened many people and used this as a method in Seyr Suluk, and it has come till today. We hope that in the Semas from now on, those fine details won't be omitted. We call them fine details, but actually these are very, very, very important points. If we can be careful about those, maybe it will open up doors for our spiritual world. Let's hope the Semas are practiced, loyal to their authentic version. Hazreti Mevlana says, trading with the Karims is very advantageous because they only give and give. So with that word, I want to thank the Kerim Foundation and Üsküdar University.
Yapmadan bitirdiğiniz için ayrı.
Thank you very much for finishing on time without me feeling the need to warn. What we call Sema did not start as a ritual of the tariqat. The Sufis, in the beginning, in the initiation of things, had that state of vejd. And the Sufi music didn't exist back then. And Sufis had profound music, songs, or words, and they were reacting, in form of whirling from time to time, and some other times they were in a state of coma, and this was called the ritual. And then it in all the rituals, there was the seeking after wedged. This was what the early period Sufis experienced and sought after. And inshallah, as our brother wished, that essential Sema will be performed by us all, and may Ashk be in our way. And now we will be leaving the floor to our next speaker from Üsküdar University, Mr. Ercan Tanrıtanır, will be delivering a presentation with the title of A Hidden Treasure in Gülhane, Unsi Hasan Sha'bani. Distinguished professors, distinguished guests, my dear friends, I will be talking about a place that is next to Gülhane tram station, where millions of maybe people pass by but never realize a hidden treasure. This treasure is Hasan Unsi. He was born in 1645 in Kastamonu's Taşköprü district and completed his primary years of education in Kastamonu, then arrived in Istanbul and continued with his education in madrasa and became a mudarris, a young mudarris in 1665 at Hagia Sophia Mosque. Had Mesnevi Sharif read and started answering the questions of those who came to the madrasa and deal with their issues. Unsi Hasan was occupied with zuhd and had a taqwa before the initiation of his Sufi interest. As his father was a Bayrami, he was not that much far from the Sufi life and had connections with it. Through a friend at Üsküdar, old Valide Tekke, met Karabaş Veli and then got involved in Sufism, and Karabaş Veli said 32,000 men came to me and I had 685 caliphs, but Hasan, Unsi Hasan was the one with Arifi Billah and Vakuful Hakaik. When he had Tevhid Zata, Karabaş Veli had him wear the Taj Sharif, and shortly after that, in 1664, had the caliphate, and he got married to a lady from Aydınoğlu Tekke and had a daughter called Fatima, and at Firuza Hamam he became a dallake and spent his life there. He had a lot of Jamal, but her daughter left the Tekke, and after that he was very much disappointed. Hasan Unsi passed away in 1723 at 6 a.m. in the morning and walked to God at Gülhane Park, across Gülhane Park. His tomb is located. This is an image of his tomb and the sanduka in the garden of and this is an image from the garden of the Tekke. Hasan Unsi was one of the rare Sufis who could think about his date of death. Unsi in another Rubai stated at what age he would pass away. His Caliph Ibrahim Has, according to what he said, Hazreti Unsi, the bright face, a round face, a wide forehead, with black eyes. On his cheeks there was this blush. He had thin lips, white teeth, of average height, his hands big, but in good shape. Hasan Unsi had a zuhd and taqwa, and was one of those whose prayers were makbul, and left Aydınoğlu Tekke only 3 times. When the call for prayer was on, he was saying to those in the Tekke that we should perform our prayer and continue with our talks. He never left Tahajjud and would warn every one of his students if they did so. And he cared a lot about his students who kept their nefs behind. Was a master, a wise man, and he said, I spent days and nights without sleep, without eating, and I faced so much that if I articulate them, one would have the difficulty to believe in. Unsi's door was not only open to the patience of heart, but the patience of body. The issue he mentioned would take a form, and he was a master of Sufism and a wise man. He did not speak of the secrets of Wahdet-i Vücud, yet imply them. Halvet-i Sha'bani had a black coal on his head, was wearing an old outfit and old shoes. He did not care about flamboyant or valuable ones. He wouldn't take any piece of cloth for years, and Hasan Unsi generally used to sit on sajjade, and always when he was taking ablution used to wash his feet and didn't make mess. During night and day, nobody saw him sleeping, and would always open his door to those who came without notice. Hasan Unsi, after being sent to Istanbul for Irshad up until 1683, lived next to Ajama Mosque, and after that he went on living in Saçlı Emir, the tekka located in Gülhane. This tekka, of which pictures are showed, was constructed by Tebrizi Muhyiddin Mehmet. This used to be a Halveti tekka, and then a Kadiri tekka, and with Hasan Unsi's arrival, Sha'bani, and then lastly it was an Enveri tekke. Izzi Efendi, when he was in the post, Aydın Oğlu Tekke also was closed down when all the tekkas were closed down in the time. Unsi Hasan Efendi, when treated Kara Mehmet Ağa, a person favored by the Sultan Mehmet IV, and with Karabashi Veli's permission, Hasan Unsi delivered preaching at Harem-i Humayun at the palace, and many zikrs. There are 4 works of Hasan Unsi known to us. Bu divan is the only one he had the rights about. After his death, the compilation of his work was completed. Divan-i İlahiyat was published. Another work of his is called Kelam-ı Aziz. During his talks, notes were compiled. Ibrahim Has, one of his caliphs, put those on paper, and the biographies of Veli and Unsi are also in that compilation. Other books are Sirri Ahadiyet and Etvar-ı Seba. Sirri Ahadiyet is a risale in Arabic and explains the secrets, the mysteries of Ahadiyet and Wahidiyet and creation. And Advar Sabat talks about the 7 states of Nefs. Piri Sani also was trained by Karabashi Veli, and Halveti Şaban was one of the rare names who reached the zenith, the pinnacle of his path, and was a rare murshid. May his services be on us. The vital question here is that Hasan Unsi, what did he find in Karabashi Veli? The human beings seeking after the truth of truths at 1001 doors with Ifnai Vujudiyat. He went to his ancient essence, and the sense didn't deprive us of what they have discovered, shed a light on our path, and provided us with the formula. Thank you. We would like to thank to Mr. Tanrıtanır. As Mr. Tanrıtanır addressed, as a murshid of Unsi Hasan's tomb, Tekke, is so nearby, and another caliph of his, let me put it this way, Karabashi Veli, Hazreti Karabashi Veli was one of the most influential peers, and his tekke is the most spreaded one in a large part of northern Africa. There exist many branches of his tekke, Rahmaniye, Semaniye, and even Tijaniye. So through the Hulafa of Karabashi Veli, many met Sufism. He is called the Ibn Halafiya of his time, a very important murshid. We, Kerim Hoca, an academic, we lost at a very early age, completed his dissertation, PhD dissertation on Karabashi Veli, and Turkish risales also have been published. If you want to get a better insight about his works, you can look into them, and we would like to thank to Mr. Tanrıtanır for reminding us of him. And the last speaker of the session is Tuhfet Toçoğlu. She will be talking about the function of the number 4 in Garibname. The floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to talk about Garibname by Aşık Pasha, his Mesnevi, and the function of the number 4. In Tasawwuf culture, we all know that there is Sufi symbolism as well, so numbers play an important role. And in the universe, everything is a sign, so a specific number of things could actually have a symbolic meaning in Tasawwuf as well. So when we look at literature from this viewpoint, so we can actually encounter symbols and allegories very frequently in Sufi works. For example, Aşık Pasha, who is a 14th year thinker and poet, wrote in Garibname a lot of symbolic meanings of numbers, and in his acknowledgement he said in Turkish nation we should be able to be informed about the divine wisdom, and that's why he wrote it. And all these numbers are interpreted from a Sufi way. In his work, in the 4th part, the number 4 has been composed in a very different way, with a view to attributing certain symbols in Tasawwuf. I'd like to give a background information about number 4. What is number 4? What is the function of number 4? Anne-Marie Schimel's book on the mystery of numbers, when we look at number 4 there, it refers to the mystical traditions, and it is the number that creates the material order. So in early cultures, the earth was actually seen as a quadrangle. So according to Pythagoras, the number 4 actually symbolizes the existence. So number 4 generally attributes to existence in this world. So if something does exist in the world, then there must be a combination of 4 numbers. So in Garibname, there are compositions of the number 4 in both material world and in Tasawwuf. So he actually relates those quatrains in a fashion that is related to Tawhid, because Aşık Pasha always commented on the verses in the Quran. I won't be actually referring to the verses or the Quranic verses, But because of time, I had to take them out. Because of time shortage, I had to take them out. But there is always a reference to the Quran and Muhyiddin Ibn Arabi. When unity is formed, he actually takes it into two platforms. The first one is part-whole relationship. So when there is no part, then the whole gets destroyed. So I will talk about these in other examples. The second kind of composition is a composition that is focused on a process whose outcome is a perfection, a discernment, as Aşık Pasha puts it. So these compositions of four are actually intertwining, and it shows the existence of humanity through which processes things go through for discernment, for comprehension, and how it also maps what to do, how to become a real human being. And there are four bases to this. The first one is, of course, God's command be, which is the essence of Muhammedan reality, as well as the dissemination of the divine light of Hazreti Muhammad's reality for the existence to happen. So there are four different phrases. So according to Aşık Pasha, number 4 actually comes out because of the coming out of the whole intellect. The first 4 composition is water, 5, air, and earth. And in Tawhid, when we have the part and whole relationship, we start with the fire because it's the heat in the heart of the human being and the heat in the guts that gives people life, just like the heat in the sun. So fire actually has got a very important role in giving us spirits. And then we have air, like breath, and water, like blood, and earth, like the station of human, like the throne. So a human being who is composed of those 4 elements can live a happy life till the end of 40 years, until the spirit wants to go away. Once the spirit wants to go away, there is nothing intellect can do. Aşık Pasha says, in order for the unity not to go away, Allah should be content with this unity. So in order for Allah to be content with this unity, there is a new composition of 4. So we have plant, animal, human, and melek, and angel. So we also have the definition in terms of part and whole. And Aşık Pasha calls these 4 elements 4 inseparable companions. So plant is your body, and you should take care of your body. An animal is your nefs. You should know that it gives you strength. And the intellect is the angel, and it actually tells you what to do for serving the other servants. And Aşık Pasha actually says the parts that grow, ruyende, and he associates them with a plant. And the soil of this is brought by the angels. And that's why the death of it is taken by the angels. And we also have a part that runs, sleeps, and eats. This is the puyende, which is the animal type, animal part. And this is with God's command brought by the prophets. And Jibril actually takes the life away. And of course the command of the death is by Allah. And Guyante, the part that has got wisdom and science, is like insan, and Azrail brings the soil and takes the life away. And all these 9 heavens are actually related with intellect and meaning, and this is Juyende, which is related to the angel type. So this is given by Hak's hand of might. So, and it is also taken by God as joining the ocean, as a drop joining the ocean. And Aşık Pasha also says that a human being is not only composed of earth, and with the discernment to happen, those four compositions should be known and should be realized. So the next composition of four phrase is where those four elements are placed in the organs of our body. The plant is situated or placed in the feet because it's the part for the body. It carries the body. The animal is situated or placed in the waist and in the abdomen because it symbolizes the nefs. And Aşık Pasha also says nefs is also based on eating and reproducing. And human is placed in the chest because it gives you the spirit, and angel is placed in the head and in the intellect because Aşık Pasha thinks that intellect is actually an angelic faculty and it is related to discernment. And in another composition of four, Aşık Pasha talks about four prophets. The first one is Hazreti Adem, is in the station of plant because he grew up so tall and he reached up in the heavens. And Moses is in the platform of animals because he was a shepherd. He in the Tur mountain, and Tur mountain was Moses' nefs, and when his nefs was destroyed like the Tur mountain, so he was prepared for the next station of the coming prophet. And Jesus is actually placed in the platform of human, and when he was a baby, he had wise words and was able to reach the fourth heaven. And Hazreti Muhammed is actually in the platform of angels, and he actually reaches the reality, and he is the whole intellect himself. So if you pay attention, the last two prophets' station is out of this world. The first two prophets are within this world who acted as a step for the coming prophets. The real objective here is the prophets completing his existence in this world as a mature human, as a perfect human being. So whatever is there in this world is not what we perceive with our five senses, because Aşık Pasha also says in this platform of this world we have knowledge of time, which refers to the fourth heavens, and Aşık Pasha talks about time in a composition of four, talking about seasons: spring, winter, fall, and winter. So he actually wants to talk about the lifespan of humans when he mentions the seasons. The most important thing is the fall, where he talks about the time of one's life where one gets more mature. It is the time where you may have a lot of properties, but at the same time your wisdom may be revealed during that time. The reason why he wanted to have this composition or emphasize this composition is that if you want some mercy at the age of 80, you should actually be a reader at an early age. You should be putting your knowledge into action in the later ages. So he also, Aşık Pasha also talks about in which part of human body divine love is. It is the gönül, it is the illuminated heart where you can actually have whatever you have in heaven. So those rivers are actually inside you and in heaven too. So the river of water is running towards Allah. And sharab, wine river, it refers to the wisdom. And water. So when you have water, you just get rid of your thirst. So when you only have wine, it just makes you drunk. So if you have them only as one in your illuminated heart, they won't actually serve its purpose. So you should have them all together, have them both together. So when it comes to the milk and honey, they should also come together, and this is given to the wise people. If you only have knowledge with no humility, then you may become a cruel person. Or if you only have humility but no science, then you may lose your wisdom. So if there are those 4 rivers in one person, this person will will give mercy to the universe, just like in the Prophet. Hazreti Muhammed has actually been able to see the beautiful face of God the Truth all the time. Aşık Pasha has another composition of four phrases: ear, eye, tongue, and finger. So the eyes see, the ears hear, so you actually can hear things from the outside world, from the exterior world. And tongue and finger actually interprets what you receive from the outside world, and they may actually determine whether you become a believer or a disbeliever depending on the halal and haram you have in your body. So if one wants to sit on the throne of chivalry, you may have 4 sons. The son of property makes you rich. The son of nefs makes your
Kişi helal yolla bu oğullar bu oğulları yetiştir.
expands your generation, and the son of spirit is your books, and the son of your essence is actually being able to train someone, a student that would follow your knowledge. So Aşık Pasha says those compositions of 4 aim at attaining the whole intellect, which is, in other words, Muhammedan reality. So, and it is also a systematic way of reaching Tawhid, unity, by referring to verses in the Quran and hadiths of the Prophet. Thank you very much.
Sufi Hanım'a da teşekkür ediyoruz.
We would like to thank Ms. Akul. Now we can have the questions, if there is any. Thank you very much. Your presentation was very, very insightful. I would like to inform you a little bit about the number 4 in another context, in Chinese culture. I'm interested in Chinese culture and Chinese philosophy, and the number 4 in Chinese philosophy and culture is also very important, and it corresponds to the word death in the way that it rhymes. Looking at the buildings, you don't see the 4th floor. It is 3, 5, but there is no 4. Or if there's the 4th floor in the new buildings, they are the cheapest apartments or the flats because nobody buys them in China. And the other function is related with time and hour, and for that, for example, for the birthdays of someone, as a gift, if you have a watch, it means that I want you to die. So Is it because there is a number 4 in the watch? Yes, it corresponds to that. Because in their culture, the numbers also have a philosophy. So the time, hour, death, at the end of time. So that's why I want those who would go to China to pay attention to that, because it carries such a meaning. Any other contribution or question?
Yani bu sempozyum dün
This symposium, as Ahmet Hoca said yesterday, deals with topics that even our professors are not quite interested in or read about. But also, since I know the background and past of my students here, I'm so delighted to see their progress and development. Just like our young son here said, it's like the life is treating us like a rock being made into a beautiful stone, and I'm enjoying this.
Hocam çok teşekkür ederim. Değerlendirme yapmam gerekir mi yoksa eyvallah. Yani acemisi olduğum için malum.
First of all, I would like to summarize it shortly. Miss Hümeyra told us one of the most focal concepts in tasawwuf, Muhammed, and its reflections in Ibn Arabi. The concept of Muhammed, the concept of love, actually Arabi's preferences is ashq, not love, Muhammed. And it is about the relationship between God and the servant, and it organizes that relationship. And the Sufis are different from the other believers, other pious people, and they are the believers of love. So it is their registered trademark, so to say, and they don't pay attention to the other topics as much. Their main goal and issue is with God. And Ibn Arabi says this is about the relationship of God and universe. And what Miss Hümeyra told us about are about the goal of the creation of universe and what can it be. The goal of creation is because that God loved to be known. So that is why the universe has been created upon. It has been created from the beloved, the lover, from love. And also God expects from us the execution of his love. And that is through the perfected man, İnsan-ı Kamil, which is the fruit and the outcome of the universe. Secondly, Mr. Özçakıl has informed us about Sema, and as I have tried shortly to contribute, is the manifestation of this love of Sufis for God. They love God so much, they can't stop saying God's name, and they can't stop when they hear God's name. So in their heart, the God's love is constantly boiling and exploding. And as an expression of this, in the Tariqat era of Sufi history, Tasawwuf history, in that era, all the masters of the Tariqas, the peers, have found certain methods for exercising that love, and one of them is the Mevlevi ayins, ceremonies. There are other methods as well, the people know the Mevlevi ayins, but they've not seen the Rifai Qiyam ceremonies because of the some harsh exercises of that. The people who come to Istanbul, when they wanted to see eccentric things, two things were advised to see. One of them was the whirling dervishes of Galata, and secondly, in Üsküdar, with your permission and my apologies, they call them the barking dervishes, because they say hi, hi, hi. They use the throat and they call them like barking dervishes. Let's hope a philanthropist allows them to they can help and cherish the Üsküdar Rifai Hospital with some charitable acts by charitable people. Also the Qiyam Zikr of Hariji or Halvetiz Devran are among other reflections of Sema. Ercan Tanrıtanır told us about Hasan Unsi Sha'bani, and Hasan Unsi Sha'bani is actually from Üsküdar, and he has been sent to the other side to enlighten them, illuminate them. He's a very prominent personality. Let's hope God be content with him. And Miss Tuhfe told us about the number 4, which is important for Tasawwuf cosmology, especially what today is called as numerology, if today's terminology was to be used. Explained us the number 4, which is an aspect of its numerological side. Thank you so much for your patience, and I would like to wrap up with a poem pushing your patience to the borders.
Şeyinle böyle bir hamiş olarak.
As a close-up to Mithat's presentation, Nizamoğlu Seyyid Seyfullah, when they were discussing the Sema and Devran, I suffer, I have a trouble. How would I not whirl? My job is to be grieving. How would I not whirl? The fire of love burns in my heart. Whoever sees me thinks that I'm a lunatic. The sun whirls, the moon whirls. How would I not whirl? And what is rejection good for? The angels revolve around the skies. How would I not whirl? We are the prayers on the path of religion. The pilgrims whirl around the Kaaba. How would I not whirl? This secret is not visible to the blind, and how would I not whirl? The wind blows, the sea is excited, and the water is even boiling. How would I not turn? How all the world is revolving. How would I not whirl?
Efendim çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Bir fotoğraf için lütfen panelistleri sola doğru alabilirsek. Bir ara vereceğiz inşallah. 11'e 10 geçe görüşmek üzere inşallah efendim. We're going to have a break. See you at 11:10, please. Thank you.
1, 2, 3.
Nerede? Kitap, bir tane kitap. Süreniz var. Ne iş var burada? Bunu da gerekiyor. Bunu da madem. tarafa da duyuralım mı?
Efendim merhabalar. Bugünün ikinci, toplamda 14. oturumumuza hoş geldiniz.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the second session of today. I would like to invite our chairperson, Associate Professor Niyazi Beki, and our panelists. We have experienced a spiritual atmosphere for the past 3 years, and I would like to extend my gratitude to our university and welcome you all. May Allah allow us be in true tasawwuf and have a spiritual purification for all of us and for the whole humanity. And now I would like to declare this session open. First speaker is Nülgün Katipoğlu, who will be talking about the Sufi characters in the novel Mahur Beste. The floor is yours. Hello everyone, distinguished participants. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you, and I would like to start with a word of thanks. As our professors know, all the symposiums carried out in Turkey, unfortunately, have taken a form of tourism, a character as such, but I am not thinking of participating to any conference where a fee is demanded, because it is carried out for science, and I would like to thank to all the professors and organizers of the symposium for their respect for science. My subject of discussion is maybe of another field. I studied literature, and our colleagues made presentations about Sufism. Only a teacher of physics took the stage yesterday, coming from a different field, if you will. And in Ahmet Hamdi Tanpınar's Mahur Beste novel, maybe it might be important to see how Sufism is embedded. I will be talking about the characters of Mahur Beste. The original paper is much more comprehensive, and it is about the Sufi roots of Eastern mysticism in Mahur Beste novel. This is the full title of the paper, but I will rather now talk about mirror, time, love, objects, like things to provide you a perspective of Ahmet Hamdi Tanpınar to Sufism, and I will try to depict that through the characters. You see the images of Ahmet Hamdi Tanpınar. Maybe I should talk about him a little bit. He is a modernist author, born in 1901, and he died in 1962. And in this regard, what's interesting is maybe to think about Safiye Erol. She was born in 1900 and passed away in 1960. They are contemporary authors. Ahmet Hamdi Tanpınar in the recent years has acquired popularism in the literature world, and at Mimar Sinan University a center was established, and many studies are carried out in his works of Western and Eastern origins, and it is actually true because he is both an Eastern and a Western. But what disturbs me a little bit is that despite the fact that his Western attributes are highlighted, his Eastern attributes are not. And Mahur Beste is the first novel of Ahmet Hamdi Tanpınar. In 1944 it was first published. In his first storybook, after his first storybook, this was his first novel. And in terms of the issues that he covered in his loving books or novels, this first one, this first novel, I believe, is of importance, and I suggest you read it to have an idea about Ahmet Hamdi Tanpınar and to get to the spirit of Mahur Beste, copies of the novel. It is only of 90, 95 or 100 pages, depending on the publishing house. The book was published in different periods, and still it is published. Ahmet Hamdi Tanpınar and Sufism relation. Let me first explain what there is about this. According to Sufism, one comes to the world to know about his nefs, have takamül, and be back to where he comes from, to God. But here the word takamül is important. It is important for Sufism, but it is as well important for literature, especially after seeing or reading this article and his novels. I have come to see that because the texts, literary texts, talk about the lives of people and the evolution or the transformation of people, and it is called a building story. It's a type, it's a genre, and I believe all stories, all books are written to talk about development and improvement, and we see how those characters and those stories evolve, and this is what we like. Some authors do create or structure this up as a whole or in pieces, but the concept tekamül, the evolution, is an important aspect. And if we also take this novel into account as one fictional novel, Mahur Beste is also a novel of tekamül. And in my field, maybe my teachers might think that I am a little bit radical. And when I related this novel to Sufism, one of my teachers, one of my professors asked me if there was really Sufism in his novel, and I said to my professor that I am sure of it, and I will write a paper about that and let you know. So I will try to explain it now here. I came up with a template, and around that template I tried to build how the characters changed and stage by stage or gradually one character gets involved in a tariqa of Sufism. There are some quotations in the presentation, in my presentation, some passages from the book. Ibn Arabi, Shaykh Akbar, his words these are. The system, the main purpose of the system is to ensure the human being arrives at a point greater than himself. The spirit, the names, and the beings are marching towards a place where they vanish, and the spirit goes through stages and moves forward. This ascension is getting the full awareness is related with getting aware of all the adjectives one is attributed with. In Mahur Beste novel, maybe you might find it useful if I sum the story up. It is a novel of Behçet Bey. Behçet Bey is one of the main characters of the novel. As this was his first novel, there are some issues related with the transitions among the chapters, but considering its philosophy, it's of great value. Behçet Bey marries a woman called Atiye, and his father does not approve some of his behaviors, so he is in the threshold, and he couldn't complete his evolution. And some other characters are added in the circle, some characters that have completed or have the desire to complete their evolution. So from the world to the truth, a vertical line is drawn, and this is how I thought the template would work. So in that takamul line or path, the person that is left in between or maybe who is on the verge, is Sabri Hoca, the other character, and his maturity can be seen, and Nuri Hoca is at the top. So I will be talking about three characters. The antagonist character. There are some antagonist characters also. I will also be talking about them with a sign of a cross there. And first, let me start with Behçet Bey. To be as short as possible, I came up with a summary. He is the protagonist of the novel, is the husband of Atiye. So this protagonist is the protagonist in the novel. It doesn't necessarily mean the main character, but the character in the midst of conflicts or incidents unfolding. And the opposite character is called the antagonist character. Just to let you know, in order not to get confused, Behçet Bey and his wife are scared. Behçet Bey is the scared one, is afraid to take a step forward, and is the one who is in the threshold. It's a pathologic character, and the author himself says so. And the man who waits by the water in Tekamül, as I will talk about in a while, we see the stagnation of melancholy. So he waits by the water, and it is related with the fact that he is not taking the leap forward. So he is scared of living, scared of life. And in order for him to carry his tekamül forward, of course it's difficult, and if you can't go for tekamül, then it is also challenging to get to the real truth. He in the novel says, you say I have changed so much, I'm almost a philosopher now. You didn't think of those before, Behçet Bey. You started knowing yourself and occupy yourself with yourself. You have 3 minutes left. Okay. Then without reading the text, let me talk about some examples. Behçet Bey is the character, and there's another character, antagonist, who is Talat Bey, because Talat Bey is the creator of the Mahur Beste, the name of the novel, the title of the novel actually. But Behçet Bey is not like the protagonist. He jumps into the water. And the other character is Sabri Hoca, and then I would like to briefly mention about him. For Sabri Hoca, I can say that he has experienced elimination, stepped over that stepped over that maybe the threshold of that door, and showed emotion, but again fears. In evolution, in terms of evolution, he had a slight improvement, but still a character in the midst. And Nuri Bey is the pinnacle of those characters, stands at the pinnacle of it, because he is the one whose tekamül can clearly be observed. He is indeed a tradesman. He loves money and gold, and he has a friend called Agop Efendi, with whom he trades, and Agop Efendi chases after gold, and you know what gold represents or signifies in Sufism. He chases after gold and is a very ambitious character. But Nuri Bey Very briefly, let me say, one night he goes to a Sephardi house upon the suggestion of a friend, and a lady is offered to her, and once he starts talking to her, a fire starts at that house, and that lady that he has just started to talk with dies, and this helps him to step forward and pass the threshold behind. This is an important incident for him. Nuri Bey closes himself up and then becomes a member of an order and starts praying. There's another character called Solosky in the novel. He suggests Nuri Bey go into that, join that character, Kadiri character, and he says maybe in music you can find Allah, you can find the truth. And as this is Mahur Beste, the concept of music is very important there. And Nuri Bey, his search in the order doesn't come to an end. So upon his participation to that order, he never stops seeking after the truth. And one friend suggests him find Ibrahim Efendi from Kuşadalı, and when he goes to that person, this person suggests him see another murid, a dervish. So those who read this novel gets very excited about what would come next, because at that point the story comes to an end. They go into a discussion, a dialogue with him, and there's a passage, and in a green environment where you can hear the birds singing. A place of relief, and we don't know what happens at the end because it's a novel and the end is open-ended. I am sorry if I exceeded my time limit, but I suggest you read that novel. Thank you very much. We would like to thank Ms. Katipoğlu for this presentation. I am also interested in poetry, and I've been writing some poems since my age of 13 in Arabic and Persian, and even if I don't know it a lot, in English a little bit, because I lived in the USA for a while. I don't know my maybe poems fully in mind. Poems are the reflections of spirit, and the heart is the realm of feelings, and adab is the architecture of spirit, and poem is the realm of my spirit. And now I would like to leave the floor to our second speaker, Ms. Yeşim Timur, who will be talking about concept of time in Sufism. Hopefully we will have Ibnul Waqt.
Hayırlı pazarlar. Ben zaman hakkında
I wish you a good Sunday. I want to share with you what I've learned about time. I think it's a very interesting serendipity, synchronicity. There's a part about the days of creation. Arabi says creation started on Sunday and today is Sunday. When creation started, God said, Kün, be, and to be you have to hear. So the adjective of today is Sema, and in the first session they told about hearing, Sema, and the name is the Nur, and they talked about the Nur, and the number is 4, and Tuhve talked about the 4, so I wanted to share this with you before I start. Time is a concept that exists in all of us' life, and it has been defined with different words in Quran, many different words like Asr and Yevm and Der and Hin and Sarmed, and God swears on Asr, and Hazreti Peygamber, our Prophet, says, do not cuss Dehr, because Dehr is God. And Ibn Arabi says, the highest above all the felaks, all the circles, there's a place with no circle and no life. So before creation, that is the state that existed before all sorts of creation, is Dehr. And he calls it as an Ismi Ilahi. And then also in Hadid Surah, it says it is he is Awal, he is Ahir, he is Zahir, and he is Batin. So he knows everything. And then if God is the Awal and Ahir, so what is now? Now is the Awal of the now and the Ahir of the past. So that means right now is God, and what is favored is acting what the time tells us, to be in zeitgeist, and you won't worry about the future, you won't grieve over the past, and we will stay in time. Dekkak says, vakit, time, is the state you are in. If you are in the world, if your heart and mind is full with the world, then your time is the world. If you are in the afterlife, then your time is afterlife. If you are joyful, then your time is joy. And if you are sad, your time is sad. So time is very precious and very valuable. So you have to spend what is valuable with something that is valuable, which is God. So we have to get rid of dealing with everything that is worldly. And for the Sufis, time is a sword, and its job is to cut like a sword, and even though it might be soft on the surface, the judgment is sharp. And the Sufis say, smart is the one who acts upon the call of time. And actually the Sufi can only be alive when you realize when you can give up on the judgment of your nefs. And Kenan Rifai says, these people who take the path with God are still a prisoner of time. Time, whenever you can give up on time and place, you can be fani with God, which are called Arifi Vasıl, and they have reached the overriding state of time, and these are called Ebul Waqt. They are the masters of time. And Ibn Arabi says there is the material time, which is like the planets and other things like that, and the other one is the emotional ones, the spiritual, immaterial ones. I want to repeat this: the spiritual names, the ilahi names, and their effect on each person is your state and your time. So none of us share the same time. We all have our specific individual times that we can only perceive based on the state or station we are at in our path to perfection. So the names and the attributes of those appear and manifest in these worldly affairs. So we need the world to exist so that things can represent themselves. This world is the kevn fesad universe, which is existence and non-existence, appearance and disappearance. So in the Surah Jaziye, it says the mushrik says only time will
Olması, Bedirhan ağlamaması buradan çok dağılıyor çünkü eğer
only time will destroy us, they say. But God says, no, it is only me which can destroy you. But there is no polarity. So there is no polarity between God and time as a destroying force. Everything is one. Ibn Arabi says creation starts on Sunday and is created on Friday, on the Jam, the unity day, completion day. And in every breath that we take, we die and we are reborn. So every breath we actually live death and rebirth. And in Mesnevi, Mevlana says, do know that at every time is a birth and a death, but since it manifests every minute, it looks like alive, and every breath is subject to this. Also in Mesnevi, there's a very good analogy in this, and Mevlana says, life looks like a long stick because of God's speed. It's actually just a moment. This moment is defined as the isthmus, as barzah by Ibn Arabi. Also, insan-ı kamil, perfected man, is also called barzah. I want you to keep it at the back of your minds because I'll connect it to something else later. Time is what rules you, and also the only truth is now. Surah Rahman says it is always in another state. No creature is the same for 2 seconds, and this folk is among the happy ones in God's eye, and that they are not in ignorance of God even for a tiny second. And Arabi says a certain group of people are aware of God's judgment, and they have the joy since they don't know the judgment of God on Ashya, and those have the position of being given the joy by God because they try to take us to higher levels, God willing. And these people are constantly praying on God's eye, and they're always doing the salat with their state of being, and they're constantly accessing new information about their God, and they are constantly witnessing everything in the world because this is a reflection of God's soul, and these are the people who inherited the heritage of Hazreti Muhammad. So if there is an insan kamil here, is a witness to everything created above and beyond time and place. Can we claim that time and place doesn't exist? Can we say that? Yes, we can. How much time do I have? 5 minutes. Okay. There are 5 rules of Islam, and 4 of them are the namaz and hajj and zakat and hajj. So when we look at namaz and zakat, in many verses they are mentioned together. Do the namaz correctly, and in the Tawbah Surah it says, if you do your repentance and if they give their zakat, free them. In Surah Maryam it says he ordered namaz and zakat. Namaz and zakat. It's not namaz and hajj. So salat and zakat are a couple that is always ordered together. Hücrevi and Ankaravi said, just like there's the zakat for all the goods, also every nimet, every gratitude or grace of God also has a zakat, and time is a very valuable grace from God. It also needs to have its zakat. So to please God and the time that it has given, let's look at the relationship between time and namaz and zakat. It is critical to have the salat, the namaz, in a timely fashion. So maybe every namaz we do is the zakat of the time that we are given. There are 5 conditions of Islam, and one of them is the kelime-i shahadat, but that is free of time. That's atemporal. We can always do that with no time boundary. In kelime-i shahadat we say we witness the godness of God, and by realizing the manifestations of time in the world, those are the insan-ı kamil, and that witnessing is not limited but by time or place. Our kelime-i shahadat is taklit, imitation, but their kelime-i shahadat is tahkik. It's a judgment, realization. So Ibn Arabi said, the state and the impact of the
Aldığımız her nefes sırasında biz nasıl bir idrak seviyesinde
the divine names in one's life is the time of that person. So everybody on this world cannot have the same time. This brings us the notion, the saying that the ways to God are as many as the hearts that go to Him. So if everybody experiences their own individual life and time, and if we all act on our state, how can anything on this world be wrong, ugly, dirty, or anything? Everything is in its right place and everything is in its right time.
Şimdi her şey yerli yerindedir deyince arkadaş.
When my friend said that everything in its right place, Tanpınar has got a verse in one of his poetry. So poetry's eastern side is now being more emphasized in my mind. We talked about time. I'm hoping that I'm not going to be wasting time. It's a very important concept. Inshallah, everybody should be the child of our time, because it's just a momental journey. On which moment are you in real connection with Allah? If you are with Allah's love, so that's the real moment. In Turkish we say time is money, which is a significant phrase. Arabic say it more beautifully. Time is so valuable that you cannot buy it with money. And Jami says, just say only one of them. One of them is moment. And just call for zikr, the only one. There should be only one in your imagination, and say it, because there is nothing else but Him. All the rest is superstition. So the importance of time makes us spend our time most efficiently, because every moment of our life we are being credited a minus or a plus. Whenever there is a plus, it's a beautiful moment, as they have said, there may be people who say the opposite. One moment of separation can actually harm you for 1 year. 1 year of union may be considered as just one joyful moment. But of course, to be actually next to the real attained people in one moment, it is worth anything, because the most significant thing is that they have the manifestation of the blessings of Allah, because they are placed in the past eternity in their right place of knowledge. So they don't actually prefer to stay in this world for a long time. So for the Prophet to be able to live on this earth for 63 years, so that shows that the surface of the earth is not that beautiful. It is the hereafter which is more beautiful. Our third speaker is Eren Bayar, Miss Eren Bayar, Gaybi's Divan, and the quotations of the Quran and Hadith. Some people say, may God forbid, that tasawwuf is not related to the Sunnah or the Quran. No, just the opposite. The source, the real source of tasawwuf is the Quran and Sunnah. So if you don't get rid of your existence, then you are a disciple of your nefs. If you know that you are something, then don't come to this council. So Sunullah Gaybi is a follower of Yunus Emre. He was born in Kütahya, and he is the son of Şeyh Ahmet Efendi. So we can actually say he's a grown up, he comes from a Sufi family, because he also gets training from the father. So the first tariqa mentioned in his life is Bayrami Melami tariqa, and the second one is in Kütahya in Balıklı Tekne. The founder, the teacher of his father, Müsviti Efendi, which is also coming from Halveti branch. In some articles, he is called Gaybi Dede. So he also the disposition of Bektashi Hurufi. In his works, he refers to Rumi and Hacı Bayram Veli. Apart from his divan, Keşkül Gıta and Hüda Rabbi essays are also popular. He actually performed his guidance in Kütahya in his tekke. So, and he wrote his works in Kütahya as well. So he talks about divine love, faith, and knowledge by referring to the Quran and Hadith. Sunullah's name is not that commonly mentioned because it's probably because of the tradition of Melami, Bayrami, which may kind of suggest to stay hidden. So he is one of the rare poets who actually delves into the philosophical matters. His rhymes, some of his poetry is written in syllable rhymes, and he talks about the basic tasawwufi terms. So the maturity stage of everyone is try to be able to get the discernment in full. So dervishhood is such a path that if you cannot understand or grasp, then you can only assume. In the last part of his divan, he actually talks about the problem of being or thinking that you have already become. So sometimes the people may think that it is lust that is love. So the most common heedlessness is for a dervish to go after material thinking that he's going after spirituality. So there's always this fight between spirituality and materialism. This will always remain, but spirituality is ancient, is existing forever. It's everlasting. Allah can manifest himself only in the person who is perfected. So the showing of the throne, the chair, the positions are not important. So if you are not after imitation, then you are full with realization. If you are raw, you would actually fall off immediately, and then you would need thousands of years to get mature. But if the mature one falls off on the ground, it would actually fall onto the equal ones. Thank you very much. I would like to I really appreciated her being in time, and I really thank her for that. Here again, I would like to cite from Kenaner Rifai's poetry, which is very beautiful. You have blessed me with your beauty. Yusufistan is a term that really made me overwhelmed. Yusufistan is a reference to like Gülistan. Your each and every manifestation have made me drawn in blessing, in the divine light. It is how beautifully said. There is this reference of the verse and the hadith in these verses as well. The most important criteria here is the sincere connection to Allah, because Tawheed is the essence, the main pillar of everything. Because Tawheed takes you from Marifetullah to Muhabbetullah, which is the real reason, the actual reason for existence. Let me repeat again, I mentioned it yesterday by Rumi. So every slave gets happy when he or she is freed. But if it comes to me, whenever I am slave to you, O my Allah, this is the happiest moment of my life. May Allah make us all servants, and may us be members of the real, actual, sincere servants. If we actually ask or pray to Allah, Allah would always reply. But we should show effort first. So that's why in Hadith says, if my servant comes to me with one step, I would actually come towards him in 2 steps. So the first step should be taken by the servant. Our Lord is so generous, so karim. So he would definitely give in abundance. And now, Mrs. Wefa Mamadova will be talking about Islamic geometric designs in the modern context, changes in meaning and shape. This is a very modern title, and the floor is hers. Islamic geometric.
I will be trying to provide you an analysis about the Islamic geometric designs in modern context, changes in meaning and shape. We co-authored this study with one of my professors, and I hope that you will like it. Islamic geometric designs and their reflections on Hinduism, Buddhism, and other religions. In this regard, the patterns, in terms of meaning, represent something larger. But the patterns in our day, in some cases, are perceived only as decorative elements, and in those cases, in order to be able to make this analysis, this study is to look into the usage of Islamic patterns, architecture, 3D objects, and 2D surfaces. So we try to come up with a categorization. This categorization belongs to this regard, indeed, and in order to understand the theoretical background of this, it is important to look into his work. He collects Islamic patterns under the title of Arabesque, and he says that there are two classes. One we talk about is this geometric design we see on the left-hand side. They are of infinite intertwining, and in Selçuk's we see them a lot. These are the patterns or designs as such, and the studies that elaborate on those patterns are of those. About the geometric designs, there have been certain studies conducted. So rather than modern products, they take those as the Islamic outputs. And our purpose is to elaborate on those in terms of product design. So we will be taking those examples and examples like this one into account, the geometric design as a graph surface on 2D objects that also is the shadow of it. And the second aspect is related with the architectural usage. This is an image from a mosque, and we will look into those. Here, the geometric designs, usage in astronomy, mathematics, and chemistry. So these are also related with that. But before this point, let me express one other thing. For a craftsman or a designer to place a pattern, there is a form, and it is the clear expression of unity. So Mahmud Ali College, Burkhardt, and some other scholars provided us definitions, and all definitions actually come to a common ground, the understanding of wahdat. So the geometric designs always represent truth in the works that they are presented on. And when it comes to their relation with other fields, as I said, they are related with astronomy, mathematics, and architecture. Another study was conducted in Azerbaijan. I'm also from Azerbaijan myself, from Nakhchivan. Professor Hudu Mehmet also conducted a study about that. This image that you see here is the TD reflection of silicium oxide. These parts are silicium and the others are oxide, and you can see the reflection of it on a wall located in Uzbekistan. And we also see that it was used in a green tomb. It was constructed in 1921. And another aspect is elaborated by Hümeyra Özçakıl. We used some sections of the book. So the cosmic unity, which is subtle and which is not visible, and the layers of universe is explained with circular shapes. The templates are circles in one another. And this is a basic plan of actually the universe. If this is an image taken from Ibn al-Arabi's Futuhat, and we can also see some representations in our professor's book, and we classify them as the representations of truth. But there is a separation here. The line in between crafts and design. The design may be related with the serial production, mass production, and here exists a picture, a general overview. The geometric designs used in the traditional ones represent the truth, but in the modern age, the products produced are of spatial or timely or productional or functional values. The crafts or the artistic representation. And the ones with time, this one refers to past. This is by Demsel, a geometric table. Geometric designs are used, but an acrylic cloth is over it. And in this form, this product is purchasable. And this was produced in a modern fashion, and it refers to past, and it's of time representation. And the spatial, we can see it in touristic products or souvenirs. The other day I took the image of a friend's bag, and I asked her where she bought it from. She said Konya, and the moment I said this is a great purse or bag, she just immediately replied, I bought it from Konya, and it means that she related it with the place, with the space, indeed, and there's such a representation available. And with the changes in the production methods, we can see the productional aspects coming clear. Serial or mass production, the materials like plastics and others are used. The functional is maybe the easiest one, because the geometric design here is not only 2D, but the pieces of the geometric design become functional. For example, this one is a design of Armagan. Armagan designs a lot of successful cultural objects. It's like a museum. I like his products. Here you can see a tray. So a piece of the geometric design is used like a pause of a cup. So we see the functional usage of a geometric design there. For that categorization and to come up with an analysis, we also looked into the surface designs, the representation of geometric designs on surfaces in terms of time or space. This is the third part. In certain designs can be created depending on the graphical aspects of structures. This one is a structure, the dome structure of a mosque. So the pattern is placed in a way to overlap the layer or the surface that it is used, and this one is a reflection of the water, and it is also similar to the architectural aspect of graphic design. Here we see the geometric designs at Islamic Museum, the signs or the plates available there. We see the geometric designs used, but it's not functional here, only in form of a star. And this pattern and its visuality may not have a functional use, but as this is of an Islamic museum, we can say it's a good example of its area of use. What about the product design? Then here we see a different analysis available. Another structure, this pattern is by Rashid Karaaslan, and this is an Islamic geometric design, and here we see the same pattern here. It's from a video resource. Talks about the Islamic geometric designs to be used in an innovative fashion. It is used as material here, and due to the structure and the links of this pattern itself, once you try to expand it, it flexes and expands further. So that's why the technological usage and the potential of our day also reflects on the usage of those designs. It's a material. It has a high potential to be used in space technology because it expands. And in architecture, the geometric designs in architecture, this is the building of Islamic Research Center, and it's right behind the corner. I took this image myself, and from Burkhardt there could be some other things to be attributed to it. Traditionally, the geometric designs can be used for functional purposes. Traditionally, the usage of geometry is important in Islam. In Burkhardt, as Mukarnas says, these designs are used not only for Mukarnas but for functional usage, and also said that it helps with the distribution of light that is coming into the structures such as mosques. And this structure, I perceive it as Mukarnas. Maybe it was designed for some other purposes, but Mukarnas, maybe the reflection of Mukarnas on some Islamic designs. Mukarnas has a different geometric form, but here it is in form of a cube. My whole family, we try to visit Baku every year. And this is these are two images from Baku, and here this is actually used to cover the ventilation equipment placed in the entrance of a metro, a subway. So the context is actually not for the purpose it should serve, but to be maybe able to conceal it. This is a plate created, and this one is a kiosk. I'm about to finish the last slide. The geometric designs in architecture. This is an example that I think is successful. Mukarnas, we talked about it, and its contact with the light. Here we see Twin Towers in Abu Dhabi. Solar panels change form according to the light coming in. The product is functional and is a new successful interpretation. So the contact with light in Mukarnas is also visible here. So with the advancement of the technologies, Islamic geometric designs are utilized for functional ends. In conclusion, I can say in this study we looked into the basic pieces of information about the theoretical background of geometric design. Some examples were provided. The geometric designs in line with Islamic arts and works strengthens the spiritual aspects of human beings and help them or remind them turn their faces and walk to truth. In this regard, the traditional usage of geometric design harbors truth in its ascent, but also spatial time or some production or function purposes are also taken into account in the designs of modern age. We would like to thank you for your presentation. I get some insights from our speakers and try to comment on them. In Quran, the evidence of inayat is stated, and from the work to mesir, it goes, if there's a needle, there's a master for that. If there's a village, there's a local administrator. If there's the letter A somewhere, there must be a writer for it. So all the works, all the pieces represent the being, and Quran talks about the tawheed of Allah and gives the universe as example. Sokaratul suluhum. The prophets of the deniers told them, what are you saying? Should there be a doubt about the creator of those vast skies and lands? If they exist, then there is a creator of that. You whose face is seen everywhere, God whose beauty stems from himself, may all be sacrificed for you, the thousands sacrificed for you. My friend, cosmology, sociology, or some other events in the universe, no matter how many of them are, all of them are lines that talk about Allah. And Ibn Arabi, at the last couplet of one of his poems, he says, Shifa is him, the dart, the trouble, or the cure is also of him. So he is one and we are all within him. So Kenan Rafai, and I would like to finish with a couplet of his. My comrade, come, let's sing Allah, Allah, and zikr, the name of Allah all the time. Everything comes from Allah. We would like to thank to our panelists and also to you all for your patience and extend my gratitudes. Ya man beda cemaluhu. The phrase, it shows its tawafuk with Cemal Nur Hoca.
Evet, ben bunu alayım, bu iki şey yazdım.
Şimdi öğle yemeği için ara vereceğiz efendim. Saat 2'de tekrar görüşmek üzere inşallah. We're going to take a lunch break now. See you at 2. Thanks.